Hey friends, it's Corey from Hey Let's Make Stuff, and in today's video I'm answering a question that I've been getting a lot lately now that I've been doing a little bit more laser content. I've had several people who recently bought a Glowforge Aura ask me what else they need to go with it. In this video I'm going to be sharing my must-have laser supplies. So there may be one or two things here that you don't need to get right away, but generally I think that all of these things are things that most laser users have on hand or should have on hand to make their laser crafting safer, easier, and better. Let's start with safety first. A laser cutter can catch fire and it can be very scary. I've had moments where I've been cutting a material and it's flared up and there's been flames, and I live in a wood house in a forest. There's literally a forest fire like 3 miles from here right now. So I know that I want to do everything in my power to keep from burning this place down. So I have a fire extinguisher to start. Now, when you get a fire extinguisher, I don't want you to just buy a fire extinguisher. I want you to take it out of the box. I want you to take the little plastic tie that's on there. I want you to take that off. I want this to be ready to go. I want you to read up on how to use it, because the last thing you need to do is have a learning curve when there is a fire. Now, hopefully you won't have a fire, and I have a few other things that can help prevent fires a little bit later in here, but always be safe, know how to use your fire extinguisher. This can be a lifesaver. You may also want to get a fire blanket. This basically, you rip it out of here, you unfold it, and you can put it on top of a fire and it will smother a fire. We have quite a few of these actually in our house because, again, we live in the woods, but this is just like another layer of safety to keep my house safe if there is ever a fire within my laser. One thing I don't have at my desk is my air purifier. So you don't necessarily need an air purifier, but I have found it has helped with the laser smell so much. So I have each of my 3 lasers vented differently. 2 of the lasers, the 2 diode lasers, are vented to like their own personal air filter, and then I vent my big Glowforge out the door. Even when I do that, laser cutting stinks. It just has fumes, it has, stuff that gets into the air, and it can really mess with my head in particular. I get a lot of headaches. So I have an air purifier and I always run it not only while I'm cutting, but I generally run it for about 24 hours after I do any cutting, which sometimes means I'm just running it all the time if I'm doing a lot of cutting. But I have found that that really helps minimize the amount of fumes and smell that is inside here in my studio, and it just makes for a happier lasering experience. One of the main ways you can prevent fires within your laser cutter is to keep your machine clean. So I've got a few things here that can help you do that. I am working on a very in-depth video on cleaning out a Glowforge Pro because I have actually not deep cleaned mine in a very long time and it really needs it. So I'm going to be working on that video, it'll be coming soon. I also have content in the works for how to clean a Glowforge Aura and how to clean the X tool, because they all are a little bit different, and I want you to know how to clean whatever machine you have if you have the same machine I do. But these are some of the supplies you might need. The first is a little handheld vacuum or dust buster or something like that. When you pull out the crumb tray from the bottom of the bed of the laser, a lot of times a lot of little pieces will have fallen down there. This makes it very easy to clean those up. Second, you're going to want to have lens wipes. So I like these Zeiss lens wipes. They leave no residue. I also use them to clean my glasses. They work really well, but I have a giant box of these, and these are really good not only for cleaning the lens of your laser, but also for cleaning the camera and sometimes even cleaning the glass if it really gets kind of residuey and you're finding it difficult to see through the glass. Then you may also want to have microfiber cloths. I use these to clean the entire outside of the machine, wipe down some of the parts of the inside of the machine. Works really well. I don't actually put these in the dryer. I let them air dry because I think that there's some sort of electrostatic something or other within the microfiber cloths that works better when you don't put them in the dryer. Another helpful thing to have is compressed canned air. You can use this for blowing out debris and other small stuff from like really difficult to reach spots inside your machine. It's kind of fun to use. I always have a can of this around. And then you can also use rubbing alcohol and Q-tips. I found that these work really well on the fan and the air assist and some of the other parts that get really gunky inside of a machine. By keeping your machine clean, not only will you prevent fires and other hazards, but your machine will just run better. After a while, the gunk that builds up inside of a laser means that the camera can't read the material quite as well and the lens can't see it quite as well. And so all of these things kind of contribute to how well your laser works and how long your laser will last. I'm not going to go into actual materials in this video, I'll save that for another video, but one thing that you probably will want is some sort of masking. If you are only, for instance, using Glowforge proof grade materials and they all come masked, which I do think is probably pretty good for beginners, where you don't have to actually figure out your settings for your materials, then you may not need this. But if you're cutting anything that doesn't have a mask on it already, so it doesn't have that paper coating on it to protect it from charring, you may want to add a mask. So you can buy mask on the roll like this. This is just a roll of paper masking, and I find that a brayer helps a lot for applying that masking. Original brayers are meant for stamping, and so they tend to be a little bit loosey-goosey. I really like the Cricut brayer because it's very solid and it works really well. You don't have to mask everything. There are some materials I don't mask. I just did a video on engraving pencils. I don't mask those pencils. We'll get to some ways to clean up your projects here in just a second, but for the most part, you will want to mask your projects because that will keep them from charring and it will keep the material underneath looking really beautiful. Next up is one of my favorite products, and this is maybe not a must-have, but it's like pretty much my favorite thing on this table, and that is this 3M double-sided adhesive. So if you've ever worked with glue, you know how much glue sucks. Like, I just hate working with glue. So if you're putting together any layered projects, I highly recommend this adhesive. It comes in rolls, it comes in sheets. I will link all of this stuff down in the description. But basically you'll peel off the masking if there is one, and you'll apply this double-sided adhesive. You'll take off one side, you'll put it on there, you'll use that same brayer to apply it. And then after you've cut your project, you'll pull off the backing and the whole thing has an adhesive on it, which makes it very easy to attach it to whatever other piece you're working with. I use this stuff all the time. It's not the cheapest, but it absolutely has saved me for hours of having to deal with glue. So if you're planning on doing any sort of layered projects, you should probably get yourself some of this stuff. Next up is sort of a category of keeping things flat in your laser bed. So you can do this one of two ways. I mean, there are probably other ways, but these are the two main ways. You can do it with magnets or you can do it with bed pins. So for my Glowforge Aura, I've been using these little round magnets. They're very strong, they're hard to get apart. There's these little magnets. So if I'm cutting cardstock or something else that's kind of thin, I just put a magnet in each corner, and that keeps my material from moving around at all, meaning that I will get an even more precise cut. And then there are bed pins, and I actually have two types here, and I'll show you each of them. So to start, for my Glowforge Pro, I actually cut my own bed pins. And basically, these are designed if you maybe have a piece of material that's a little bit warped and you need everything to kind of stay flat. These fit into the honeycomb tray, into the crumb tray at the bottom of the laser. You basically stick them in, and it's a tight fit. You stick them in and you can hold down the edges of your material. There's a very popular file from the Glowforge forums for these. It's a free file. I actually had a really difficult time with it when I was trying to cut my bed pins. For some reason, the Glowforge app when I uploaded it, it then like moved my file somewhere where I couldn't even access on my screen. And no matter what I did, I couldn't figure it out. So I made my own version of these bed pins. These are very similar to the bed pins that you can get on the Glowforge community app. I removed the engraving because I didn't want to take that extra time, but the design is not mine. It is the design of El Jefe 4 on the Glowforge forums. But if for some reason his file is not working for you, then go ahead and you can grab my file. I will link to it below. But basically, you just shove these in and you can hold your material steady. Now, instead of having to cut your own for the X tool, mine actually came with their own bed pins that are magnetic, and they are so strong. I have pinched myself so many times on these magnets. So these magnets function the same way that the bed pins do. They have a bigger sort of post that goes inside the crumb tray, so they don't actually fit in the Glowforge, but they do fit in the crumb tray of the X tool. So basically, you stick it down, it magnets to the crumb tray, making it even more solid, and then this top piece basically holds your material down. These came as part of the X tool, which I thought was really great. Once your file is cut and engraved or scored, if you have masking, you're gonna need to remove that masking, and I've got two things here. My preference is this plastic razor blade. So you can't really cut yourself on this, it's just plastic, but basically just sort of shove it against the edge of the masking and then you can peel it up. I found it works really, really well when you have a lot of small pieces of masking because you've engraved something, you just sort of scrape it across the top and it works really well. The other option that a lot of people use is Gorilla Tape, and you can see that I use it a lot too. My little roll is almost done here, I need to order more. This works really well, but I don't like that it's kind of one-time use. So you'll peel off a piece, you'll put it down, and you'll use the strength of the adhesive on here to peel up that masking. And it does work really well, but I find it just a little bit wasteful, so I don't use this quite as much as I use this. But a lot of people swear by the Gorilla Tape, so if this is a better option for you, then go for it. And then finally, sometimes when you are finished with your project, you'll find that there is some kind of residue. It might be a little tacky or sticky. You may find a little bit of charring if you didn't mask or you didn't mask properly. So now we have some cleaning supplies. You can use just about any mild cleaner on your projects, but I'm going to show you a few things here. So the first is baby wipes. These work really, really well. I use them a lot for cleaning off the engraved pencils. You just take out a wipe, swipe it down, and it will remove that charring. Make sure you get alcohol-free baby wipes. Do they even make alcohol-based baby wipes anymore? This is 2023, probably not. But you do also want some that has a little bit of cleaner. So you don't want just like only water wipes. You do want it to have that little bit of whatever's in there that will actually do some cleaning for you. So I found these at Target and they have worked really well. Find yourself something that has a little bit of cleaner, but not something that has alcohol in it. Windex, however, is my favorite thing. I am like the dad from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I will put Windex on everything to try and fix it. I have found that Windex works so well for cleaning off that residue. I don't know what it is about the formula in here, but it works super well. I also have a video on how to clean your Cricut mats using Windex, so I can link to that if anybody's interested. But really, I have found Windex and a little paper towel to be one of the easiest solutions for cleaning off any of my laser projects. Next up is a product that I actually don't have. It's called LA's Awesome Cleaner, or LA's Awesome Spray. And it's something that people swear by. People love it. So I've linked it below, but I would encourage you not to use my link to purchase for this one. I would say go to your local Dollar Tree and just buy it. I think it's $1.25 a bottle, super cheap, really, really budget friendly. If you buy it from Dollar Tree online, you get it for that price, but you have to buy 12 bottles, and I'm not really sure anybody needs 12 bottles unless you run a cleaning company or something like that. Yes, it's only $15, but it's still 12 bottles of cleaner. You can also buy it on Amazon, but it's like 5 times the price as well. So if you have a Dollar Tree or other dollar store that sells it, go ahead and go there instead of buying it online. You can use that cleaner on just about anything. People use it all the time for cleaning their laser projects, and a lot of people are really happy with it. Might have to get myself a bottle so I can try it out. Another product you can use with caveats is a magic eraser. Now, a magic eraser is actually abrasive. Even though it's just so soft and so cuddly, it can actually really mess up some of your projects. So I've used this on wood to just clean up some charring, and it works really well. I do it very lightly. I would not use this on painted surfaces, so I wouldn't use it on things like pencils that have that kind of colored surface because it can scratch it. And I definitely wouldn't use it on acrylic because it can scratch your acrylic. So this is something that I use if I really feel like I need some good cleaning, but definitely test first because you don't want to ruin your project because you used the wrong cleaner on it. A lot of people want to jump to alcohol and a microfiber cloth. And again, this works really well on things like wood, but the alcohol itself can actually damage acrylic. So it will create like these little micro fissures that are really ugly, and it makes the whole project a little bit unstable. So definitely don't use alcohol on anything acrylic. So don't use the magic eraser on anything acrylic, and don't use the alcohol on anything acrylic because it can damage that material. You can use both of those on wood though. Then the last thing I have here on my table is a sanding block. I have found that sometimes when I'm layering projects, you'll get just a little bit of even this 3M spray. If you use glue, you might get glue. Sometimes there's just stuff that kind of creeps around the edges, and I found a sanding block just really works well for cleaning up the sides of projects. I wouldn't necessarily use it on like the front of any, the face of any projects, but the edges where it has been cut, sometimes this is a good way to go with wood. And that's it. I started with a big pile of things on this side of the table, and now they're all on that side of the table. If you have any questions about anything I've shared here, I would love to answer those questions for you in the comments. If you have things that you think a laser beginner should have, I also would love to hear that in the comments. Maybe there's something that I missed. I would love for other people to know about that. If you want more tutorials about the Xtool M1, the Glowforge Pro, or the Glowforge Aura, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you next time.